Hi, so as you notice, there's a microphone over here and it's not working. We're working on that, and if we get one up and running by the time the tellers get out here, we will go ahead and use a mic, but in the meantime, we're going to project. So, welcome. Thanks for hosting the first student story slam here at ACMA. I work, as Amy said, I work at the Beaverton Library, and along here with Jody, we're both members of the Washington County Cooperative Library Services Art of the Storytelling Festival Committee. And so every year, this is our 14th year, every year we do a week-long storytelling festival, and we bring in tellers locally as well as nationally, and they tell at libraries all over the county. And this is a new twist this year. We thought we would try and get the students involved. So we're doing a student slam. And thanks to Amy, we were able to get 3 students to come up here and tell their personal stories. And whoever, we have 3 esteemed storyteller judges here. They're all going to be winners, but they're going to pick somebody to move on who will tell at the finale on May 5th. The festival runs from April 21st to May 5th. Now that's 2 weeks, but the bulk of it is the last week. A week from this Saturday on the 21st, there's going to be an adult story slam at the Beaverton Library. It's a lot of fun. If you want to come check that out. We have a lot of literature out in the lobby. Feel free to pick some up. And please join us for that. If not, you can come see the rest of all the tellers are going to be at the finale. It's at the Sherwood Library on May 5th, and there's events all the week prior to that. So we're running a little behind time. I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to introduce one of our featured, well, he's actually a local national teller. His name's Rick Huddle. He is a teacher, educator, musician. He's just a Renaissance kind of guy. And he's right here, and he's going to come up and he's going to tell a story first. And then when he's done with his story, we're going to bring out the tellers, and they're going to tell their stories, and then we're going to see who wins. All right? Rick.
Hi. Well, when I was in high school, my nemesis was this guy named Tracy Barnett. And Tracy was the typical all-American jock. You know, he had blonde hair, blue eyes. He was captain of both the wrestling and the football teams. He dated cheerleaders. He worked out all the time, and it really showed. This one day I was in the locker room, and he had just come out of the shower, and he just had a towel wrapped around his waist. And as he turned the corner, as much as I hated Tracy, I had to say, like, to myself, like, that dude is cut. I mean, he literally looked like he was chiseled, like he could be one of those Greek statues with the discus. And I was anything but that. I weighed about 60 pounds lighter than I do now in high school. I didn't date anybody, and I wasn't exactly a band geek, but I did play first chair trombone. And our mascot in high school was the Highlander. So that meant in the marching band we wore kilts. And I know like out here now, after I've seen Braveheart, I feel like kilts can be manly. But I grew up in this small town in the South, and kilts were definitely not considered manly. I'm not sure how our feud started. I think it was just like part of growing up, part of becoming a man is identifying who you are, and one of the easiest ways to do that was to hate somebody else. I didn't know who I was, but I knew I was not Tracy, captain of the football team, Barnett. Most of the time, our interactions were limited to like a little sneer or a snide comment here and there. But this one day, I think, after some snide comments, Tracy found me in a secluded part of the high school. It was right outside the wood shop. He backed me up against the wall, and he grabbed my shirt, and he kind of lifted me up, and he looked me straight in the eyes and said, "I could smash your face in." And he could have. And I knew he could have, but I didn't want to let him know that I was scared of him, and so even though there was this pool of nervous spit gathering in the back of my mouth, through that nervous spit, I said the best thing that I could think of, which was, "Yeah." I thought about that moment for weeks after that, and every everything that I thought of, what I could have said was just as dumb as what I actually said. But our senior year, it was a small high school, and we both were on the homecoming court. And Friday night, the halftime of the football game, underneath the lights, they had the ceremony, and they announced the Queen and the King, and I was announced as the King. And when that happened, I was like, yes! Take that, Tracy! And this is not just for me, by the way, this is for all of the band geeks who have been band geeks ever since there were band geeks. And this goes to show that the nice guy does not always finish last. And I walked up to the little ceremony in my kilt. And they put this little cardboard and felt crown on top of my head. And then when the ceremony was over, I started to walk over towards the band, and Tracy started to walk towards the football team. We were headed straight for each other, and I just felt like the whole stadium kind of blurred out, and I was just so proud. And it was like we were walking down this tunnel, and I was walking towards the future, and Tracy was walking towards the past. And then right as we passed each other, Tracy said, "Congratulations, Rick." And in that moment, I could see these future images of myself, like wearing a suit and tie, sitting around in some board meeting and making important business decisions, or in somebody's private library smoking cigars and talking world politics. All of a sudden, for the first time in my life, thanks to Tracy Barnett, I felt like a man. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. You're pretty cut yourself, Okay, so it looks like we're going to go without a mic, which is fine. These ladies are going to project. So let me introduce our first teller. You guys probably all know these people better than I do. I just met them today. Our first teller is Evelyn Elston. She's a senior here, and her main interests include theater and writing, and she serves as the student body president at her school. Well, you must know her then. She'll be going on to college in the fall, but is currently undecided on where. Her favorite place to be is Detroit Lake State Park. Please welcome Evelyn.
When I was about 11 years old, my favorite place to go on vacation with my family was Detroit Lake State Park. I would always get excited about it as it got closer and closer to the end of the school year, because we would always take it at the beginning of June. So the time would come, we'd get out of school, and then the very next day, my brother and my mom and my dad and I, we had this big red Jeep, and we would load all our stuff into our car, our coolers, our tent, and everything, and we would take the hour-and-a-half trek down to eastern Oregon to go to Detroit Lake State Park. And just as soon as we got there, we would annoy my parents the whole way there. You know what kids do. And just as soon as we got there, we always had the same campsite every time. My dad booked it way in advance, so we could be sure that we always had the same campsite, and it was my favorite because it was right on the water. It was right next to the lake. And as soon as we pulled up to it, my brother and I would jump out of the car and we would make a dash for this dock that was really super close to the campsite that we always had. And that dock was the place to be during the summer. There were 2 docks at Detroit Lake State Park. One of them was a little farther away, and that was where all the boats and the fishing was allowed. This dock was unpopulated because they didn't allow any of the fun stuff. So that's where my brother went. And he would get his guitar, and I would take the little drink cooler, and I'd bring my book, and we'd sit there, and we'd go to the dock, and we would argue for a couple of hours. And then when we got sick of arguing and made up, he would play songs on his guitar, and I would lie on the dock, face down, reading my book, not really paying attention to the book, but to the feeling of my toes in the water and the dock as it went up and down and up and down. And those were the days. We would drink lemonade, we would sit there, and we would let the whole scene take in. And I don't know if you guys have ever been to Detroit Lake State Park, but it is beautiful. You've got this huge lake in the middle of everything, and it's this fantastic deep aquamarine that's all surrounded by these campsites, and these evergreen trees stand there like soldiers. They're on hills, and it goes over and over, and just behind the hills, it could be inches away. there are these enormous mountains, and you can see the snow still on them, no matter what time of the year it is, and the whole thing is framed by this beautiful lake and the clear blue sky. And that's how we spent those summers at Detroit Lake State Park. But 2 falls ago, when my dad and I went to visit, the lake had gone dry. My brother didn't come with us that time. I don't think it had really hit my father and I that the lake had gone dry. I think my brother realized it, but we had this fantasy of this lake that we had always gone to still being there. But when we pulled up, it wasn't. It was just these great dunes of sand, kind of. Detroit Lake used to be a dam. It wasn't there before. They cut down all these trees to make room for the dam so that they could control the water flow, and you could just see the stumps over and over all the different sand dunes. They looked like teeth. And just, there used to be a town there, and you could see old trash just littering the whole area. It was unlike any place I'd ever seen, and it definitely wasn't the Detroit Lake State Park that I had known. But my dad and I knew we had to go. We had to find where the water had went. So we walked for what seemed like miles and miles, but couldn't have been that far until we found it. The last little bit of lake that was in Detroit Lake State Park. You could see people fishing still. They were trying to get the fish, and it was rather easy, literally shooting fish in a barrel, because you could see them just up and down through the whole little thing. It couldn't have been bigger than like probably a football field, and that was all that was left of this enormous lake. And it was kind of depressing. So we kind of, feeling defeated, went back. We made the trek back after seeing all of this, and I couldn't help but notice that even though the lake was gone, it still smelled the same way it had always smelled, with the sunshine and the lake water and fish and evergreens. It got easier to imagine the lake was still there when it got dark outside. My dad and I, we built a big fire, and once it didn't need tending to anymore, he started talking and didn't stop. I didn't really understand what he was going on about. I guess it was just a little bit easier not to. I was just focused on the way that the smoke was swirling up towards the treetops. The fire was still burning, and the smell of the lake. Eventually, he went to bed, and I just sat there for a while before I eventually retreated inside the camper and took my place in the back. We had 2 beds, one in the back, one in the front. He was in the front, and I was in the back. And by the time I woke up, he had already started moving. All the gear had been packed up, and we went home. The following days were a bit of a blur. I didn't notice my dad leave his key on the counter and take leave of my house for the last time. I don't know if he told my brother that he was leaving. I don't know if he needed to. After that, the days kind of conveyor belted on. I learned how to drive, and my brother learned how to cook, and neither of us knew how to talk about it. But last spring, I noticed that through the blinds, I could see that familiar sunshine. So at the end of school, I took my brother in my old Honda Accord and packed up our cooler and his guitar and a couple of books, and we made the trip back down, and we listened to music the whole way down. And there was one spot left open in the day area of A-Loop, and we went back to the docks, and we played all the camp songs we used to know and watched as the Canadian geese wove their way in and out of where they would have let the boats if they had still let the boats down there. And the lake was back. Over the winter time, the snow melt and the rainfall had filled it back up. It was shallower than we had remembered it to be, but it was still there. And we dipped our toes in the water, and for just a moment, we were kids again. Thank you.
That was really good. Thank you, Evelyn. Now you're welcome to come out and sit in the audience.
I probably will.
Okay, great. Great job. Oh, what?
Thanks.
Is that full-time student and yearbook editor here. She hopes to graduate college and become a part-time novelist while continuing her full-time job of being the geeky goofball of her friend group. She enjoys taking long naps on her bed and cuddling with a good book and her dog. Please welcome Gabby.
Hi. So I'm just going to get started. So 3-4 years ago, like I'm going to say maybe like in the summer between 7th and 8th grade, I had like what you would call a phase. It's a phase and I'm over it now, thank God. It was where I was into basketball. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no longer part of my life, but it was fun while it lasted, I guess. So this was during the summer, and my parents enrolled me, and I kind of was like, okay, I will go along with it. They enrolled me in a week-long basketball camp at the YMCA. I have to do that. So anyways, this was a week-long camp, and it was 5 days long, and it was basically a camp that was more dedicated towards, having fun, but also learning more about, dribbling and shooting and all that jazz. And the first day, first half of it, they would have you go through all these things, and they would see what you were made of, like if you sucked, like me, or if you were really good. And then they split you off into teams. And they would try and divide it so that every team was equal, but I'm pretty sure that they always knew which team would win at the end. I'm pretty sure they placed bets. So I ended up being on the team that won the tournament that happens on the last day, Friday. And all throughout the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's when we would have, scrimmage games, and we would, practice and all that. And that was when I saw where I ranked on the team. Well, this team that I was on, again, it ended up, we ended up winning, and, but like, we didn't know that at the very beginning, and we just wanted to win. We would try our best, and I'm pretty sure that the winning team got a bunch of t-shirts. I'm sure that was not our motivation for winning. We just like, yeah, I want to win, testosterone! So, again, our team ended up winning, and that was no way because of me. I was not the MVP of that team. In fact, I was the shortest, I was the slowest, I was the worst at shooting, and I was the only girl. And every time I tried to defend someone, I was so sure that they could literally just be like, over here, over here. So, but I could pass really well. I had that. So, usually my role for a game was if by some miracle I got the ball, someone passed the ball. Like, it was their only option. I was their only option. They're like, oh, Gabby's open. Yes, I gotta pass it. So if by some miracle I get the ball, my job was to pass it to someone who could actually make that shot instead of me taking the opportunity. Because, I mean, we want to win, right? So I might as well pass it to a ball, like pass the ball to someone who could actually make that shot. And on the last day, and this is when all the points really counted, because that was when we would determine who were the winners and who were the losers. And so we were playing this game, and it's a really close game. We were playing against the kids who ended up being in second place. And, we were, doing how I usually do, and like I was just passing the ball if I ever got it. And during this team huddle, the best player on the team said something outrageous. He said, hey guys, why don't we make it so that we pass the ball to Gabby more, and how we have her shoot the ball and none of us score a point until she does. And I was like, are you crazy? You want us to win, right? I mean, this is stupid. And But all the other guys on the team thought it was just a fantastic idea. So I was like, okay, and I went along with it. And all of a sudden, I was being passed to. The ball was in my hands almost all the time. And I kept, dribbling and shooting. And as I mentioned before, I have a bad shot. So I would often miss. And someone else would get the ball. And then they would pass the ball, and then it'd come back to me. And then I would shoot again. And then I'd miss again. And then, they pass the ball, it would go in my hands, and I'd shoot, and it bounces on the rim, bounces on the backboard, bounces on the rim, it doesn't go in. So, as you can see, this went on for a while. I'm not that great. And this happened for so long that a guy from the other team, started figuring out what was going on. And I'm going to say this now, I am not the most I can't remember people well. Like if I've met you once or twice, I'll remember you by your face, but I'll never remember your name. This guy only met for 5 days, and I still remember him because he was twice my size in both directions, which maybe was not such a feat because I was really small, but it was still had an impression. There's just this really gloomy guy, and he was not scrawny or anything. He was just really beefy and just really. He should have been a football player or something. He looks like he would be a football player, but with no pads extra. So there's this guy, and I remember I was past the ball, and this guy is coming towards me. And I thought, well, this is the end. And then this guy also does something outrageous. He blocks a member of his own team so that I can shoot the ball. And it was amazing. I didn't really appreciate back then because I was like, sweet! And then I tried to shoot again, and I probably missed. But, I don't even remember if I even made the shot or not. I'm not even sure if I ever made those 2 points. And we ended up winning anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter. But the thing is that those guys on my team, they were actually good players. And I was the worst player. I was not the MVP. So they had the chance. They could have just played the game, just as we had every other time, with me just passing the ball every time I got it. And yet, they gave me a chance to step in the spotlight, to prove my worth and shoot the ball. And while it took many, many tries, and I always thought, hey, I'm never going to make this, but I remember the ball getting really, really close into that hoop several times. Several times. It was really frustrating for everyone. But the fact is that they would have been just fine just letting me do my job, and yet they gave me that chance. And especially that one guy on the other team, he knew what was going on. He could have blocked me for the rest of the game, and it would have been all over, but no. He blocked a member of his own team. And I was never grateful for that back then, but I am really grateful now. So I am dedicating this story to all those guys on my team and that one super scary dude on that other team. And I want to say thanks wherever you are.
Great job, Gabby. I think you have a movie script going there. I see a movie happen. So I want to introduce the other 2 judges real quick before I forget. No, I'm flicking around like that. So the other 2 judges here are Ann Rutherford and Norm Brecky. They're both accomplished storytellers as well. And gosh, you guys, I don't envy